Right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are excited for all of you guys on Facebook watching and that are here live with us. This is IE Mastermind. My name is Alan, and I'm just one of the participants here. We're happy to be in my office. I'm an equity fund manager, but other than that, I think it's excited to be able to be here. And I am going to turn over Nick, the president, or am I turning up Jesse? Jesse, the vice president. Come on up, IE Mastermind. Come on, Jesse.
Thank you. All right, round of applause real quick for Brother Alan. He's one of our business. Yeah, there we go. One of our business partners. It feels like we've been working together for a few years now with all the activity that we got going on. I know we have August and September. Yep. And just to let you guys know, he's one of the main speakers at the Infinite Growth Expo. Put your hands up if you're going to be attending. It's powerful stuff, okay? So let's get started. And to everybody joining live on social media, welcome. And welcome me back as I'm returning to social media after 7 months of being on a fast, not posting anything. So my dopamine is going to kick in at another level. So welcome today. So today's sponsor is Brother Alan for letting us host this event here, right? How many of you are attending for the first time? Raise your hand. We got 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's right here. And how many of you are attending for your second or third time? Raise your hand. Some of us drove about 2 hours to get here today. And you know why? It's because, man, the energy here is always good. Yep. We always leave with one new business partnership, one new idea, one new habit. I know that the 2 masterminds ago at the Rancho, I started implementing a strategy that works for me, where I created an acronym, thanks to Daniel. So good stuff. So surround yourselves with growth-minded people who support your goals. Share bigger ideas with inspired, growth-minded people is what it's all about here. How many of you have realized that it truly is important who you share your ideas with and who you talk with, right? Because some people don't get the vision. What do you mean you're going to scale your business to $100 million? How is that possible, right? So the keys to success and resources is what you're going to find here at this mastermind from people that are so, I want to say selfless, so giving, operating from abundance, right? And then one of the things that you should consider is becoming a part of this community of like-minded people, because this is where your big story starts, right? Whatever it is that you've accomplished in the past is nothing compared to what you're going to accomplish in the future. And I like to say, make the rest of your life the best of your life, right? It doesn't matter if you're in your 30s and your 40s or your 50s, 60s, whatever the case is, the rest of your life gets to be the best of your life. So a little bit about us real quick. Some of you guys have already seen this. Some of you guys have not. This is a gala that we hosted last time. Some of you guys were members. Some of you were not members, right? But it's a place where we celebrate each other's wins. It's a place where we share your ideas. And one of the cool things is that we always get supporters joining in. And one of the best things is that the speakers, we always end up wanting to sign up for as a member. And the first person to ever do that was today's speaker. So let's give a round of applause to Mitch, because he always leads by example. I want to say that even before I was part of this business venture with Nick, there was a gentleman here that believed in the dream, that wanted to support him, that saw the bigger picture. Now, with his help, we continue to double and scale this, right? And with the help of all of you too. So one man can only do so much by themselves, right? One person. And it's a beautiful thing to have that, because mental health is big, right? And oftentimes, who do we share our ideas with? Sometimes you don't share it with nobody, so you never go anywhere, right? So these are some of the members already here. If you're not up there, let us know. And one of the things, when you join the mastermind, we start sharing you on the social media. Round of applause, because we are about to reach 1,000 people on Instagram. Wow. 1,000 people. Yeah. Not a lot of people do that, but you know how you do that? Proof of concept and deliver value. Instead of always pitching, give, it comes back to you tenfold, Yeah. So to grow it to 1,000 is the hardest. To grow it to 10,000 is going to be the easiest, because we already have proof of concept. What's happening now is we're getting advocates. Every time somebody shows up for the first time, the next time they bring in somebody else. Hey, you got to check this out. And then they keep on coming, The last time we got a lady, I don't know if she's here on the live. Her name is Denise. She was at a chamber meeting on Thursday when one of our business partners, Believer Mike, how many of you guys have met Believer Mike? So, right? He invited her here, boom, signed up. Actually, that's how you ended up also signing up here, right? Through Believer Mike. He told you about this. So cool stuff. So let's go ahead and share some community wins. Anybody has any wins from the last mastermind to this mastermind of good things that have happened in their business? Anthony, do you have any wins?
Yeah, I've just been hitting my goals. Well, my goals are really high. So when I say hitting my goals, I'm hitting a good place. That's, toward my goals. I tripled all my goals. I stopped drinking actually. And yeah, I don't know. I don't drink too much, but when I do, I'm spending a lot of time hanging out, wasting time. I might stop and get a beer, like one beer on the way home or something. That's like still 45 minutes, and usually when I get home from the office, I like to really go to work, and set my day up for the next day, queue up my calls. And so it's saving me money, time. And so what do I do to replace the time? And just the mindset is just, I tripled everything, from physical to my goals on calls I make every day. I've got a little more zeroed in on like how many calls I want to make a month, so how many I got to make a week, a day, that type of stuff. So getting very organized with it. But yeah, just very focused lately.
That's a huge win, the discipline for you to be able to commit to something like that. So the two books that I want to suggest, I always talk about it, but combine both of them. First, read The Compound Effect, and then read Atomic Habits. Some of you guys have read Atomic Habits, but you haven't read The Compound Effect. Read first Compound Effect, then Atomic Habits. Thank me after. Anybody else has a win right now? Rami, I know that you've been working on your courses and you actually hosted your first one at that level. How many people showed up and any results from that?
Yeah, now I launched my Digital Edge Academy to teach technical skills to coaches.
Yeah.
And so far I have 9 members and 6 of them paid, and the 3 of them pro bono, which is great. And also I'm launching my workshop next week for lead magnets, how to create your lead magnet. So it's a milestone.
Home run. How much effective are you being now that you're hosting like an event and now funneling them to like the system? Has it been working for you, saving you time?
Yeah. This is the more I'm doing this, the better. And one thing I noticed is every time I watch myself and take notes of what's going on in the session I gave, and see how I'm acting, right? Because like before I didn't like to watch myself, right? Now I'm more like, I can watch how I was teaching and take notes and make it better for the next session. So it's working great for me.
Cool stuff. Yeah. And one of the things to acknowledge is that him as a coach, he's invested into a coaching program with Tony Robbins, where he has how often are the calls? Every month or every year?
I have a weekly coaching program with Result Coaching, and now I signed up for Leadership Academy starting in November. And this is a big thing for me.
That's something that we all have in common. Yeah. We're still investing in coaching and mentorship, right? I think it's huge because don't ever drink the Kool-Aid where you think you're too cool and to know it all. And then the last person, Brother Alan, do you have a win you want to share?
Man, we have lots of wins. Go ahead, tell the one for today. Yeah, we got some great wins. We've had 3 properties lined up, and we got 14 other court dates today. So we're going to an auction tomorrow to we pick up another one. So we got a lot of houses in the pipeline, and we start launching the fund. So we're super excited about that.
And let everybody know how old you are.
I'm 19.
And the goal for Brother Alan for him is to be a millionaire or even more by 21. Do you think that's possible?
Convert my entrepreneur veteran training.
Like if you hear this guy on the phone, you're just like, wow, what the heck, And the good thing about it is that a lot of you guys have 16 to 21-year-olds. And like yesterday, I met the newest member, Denise, his son, who's 16. He's already being a personal trainer at that gym where they're at, training 20 women at a time, He's already making money in high school. So let's get started, guys, real quick. Let's start off with a quick introduction. I'll go first. So I'm Life Coach Jesse, the Vice President of the IE Mastermind, and I am a member. Go ahead.
Nick Baez, my main insurance company is Alliance Insurance and Business Solutions, and then founder of the Mastermind, and I'm a member.
Anthony Garibay, Foremost Commercial Real Estate Services. So anything you need for your business, warehouses, we really specialize in, industrial, that type of stuff, but anything, storefronts, pre-existing businesses, restaurants, whatever land, whatever you need for commercial real estate, buy, sell, lease, investment opportunities.
Rami Raiden, member. My company, The Business Guru, I'm a digital marketing specialist, and that's all. Thanks, Daniel.
Conrad Alois, the Nexus team. I'm the CEO, and I'm a member too. The Nexus team is a trading platform.
Rebecca Stroker Hill. I own a check one processing company, and I am a mortgage broker out of like a couple days ago. And I'm excited.
Thank you for coming. Good. I'm Alan, Equity Fund Manager and Acme Global Inc. So I raise capital and deploy it into homes, apartment complexes, businesses, things like that.
I'm Eric Pratt, owner of Paul Davis Restoration of Temecula and Wow Services, plumbing, heating, and air. And I'm a guest today.
Thank you.
I'm Elizabeth Pratt, and I co-own everything with him. So together we are growing, building a business and guest.
Mitch Morris with Conrad Alois, who provide business advisory services. I also own a company called the In-Kind Company, where we deal with secondhand markets. We have a retail thrift shop. We sell secondhand materials, and that basically funds our nonprofit, which is called the In-Kind Foundation. So I'm currently involved with 3 different companies.
Perfect. So round of applause for everybody that's here, that we're all here, guys. We could be anywhere else, but we're still prioritizing growing our business, but most importantly, growing our mindset, right? So let's go ahead and get started today. I'm about to introduce the president of the IE Mastermind, Nick Pius.
Thank you. All right, well, I appreciate all you guys coming here. One of the things when I started the Mastermind group is not only surround yourself with great people, but also expanding the limit of what's possible in our own lives. Until we see a different angle about something or hear something that we've never done before, we don't really know what our limits are. But when we hear something different and we know what's possible and somebody's in the same room with us, sharing their experience, we realize that's possible for us as well. So it's my privilege and honor to be able to introduce this special guest speaker this evening. As Jesse said earlier, it's been a while since you came around for the first time since I met you. I met him at a networking event, and I invited him as a speaker, and it was a great fit because so many people got so much value from it. He's also, I'll just read the bio and then I'll kind of go over the story. But he's going to be going over the requirements of a sustainable business growth. Mitch has been involved in growth and scale-oriented businesses for 25 years. He's brought some concepts all the way up to $250 million in revenue. Mitch climbed the corporate ladder to the C-suite in many companies. As an entrepreneur, he started being directly involved in running 8 companies. Mitch considers himself as an advanced student of life, business, and tangible transformation. As a seasoned investor, Mitch has supported over 100 businesses in executive advisory consulting capabilities. And Mitch also has the MBA degree, is an active angel investor and an adjunct professor at Cal State San Bernardino. And he believes in the management type where you roll up your sleeves and just get in there and work from within. And then, as Mitch said earlier, he runs many different companies. The Conrad Alois as an advisor, the In-Kind Foundation, and then your In-Kind thrift shop as well. So it's a privilege and honor to introduce you tonight. So thank you for being here.
So I kind of have a question for the group. I was going to kind of build a presentation and kind of walk everybody through this idea of how we migrate from being what am I supposed to do with this?
Just put on here.
It's already
Perfect.
how we migrate from being an entrepreneurial run company into a scale and oriented growth based firm. And the concept that goes from entrepreneur to kind of growth and scale based is something we call professionalization, right? It's taking this idea that we have to grow as entrepreneurs, we have to grow the people around us, we need processes, we need the right infrastructure in place, right systems. So I just wanted to know if you all would prefer to kind of go through a presentation. Since the group is kind of small, we could also just kind of have a discussion. I can share some things, we can do some Q&A.
Story each tool is the best thing. Because by a story would be great.
By a story.
Yeah.
By an example.
Well, it's very hard to give.
Tell us the story.
It's hard to give an example unless you look at really big companies, because the mid-market is tough and small business is tough. But if you only look at things like, there's only a few real good examples of entrepreneurs that have built gigantic scale companies, right? So if you look at people like Mark Zuckerberg, right? He started off Facebook in the dorm room, as the founder of the company. And now he's running a multi-billion-dollar, almost trillion-dollar value company, right? There are very few people who make this transition. And it's a transition in mindset. It's this idea that you understand that I don't know enough, that I need to grow. I need to get the right people. The right people change. As the business changes, as we hit different stages, everything changes. So that's the context of which this presentation said. So I teach this course called Managing a Growing Business at Cal State San Bernardino. It's a 16-week course, not consolidated it into a 30-minute presentation. Okay, so I guess we'll do the presentation. So nobody feels like chit-chatting. So which button? Okay. So today we're going to have a quick chat on scaling the growth-based business from entrepreneur to professional. So feel free at any point to ask a question if you have. There's two types of businesses in this world, and tell me if you agree. There's lifestyle businesses, and then there's growth-oriented businesses. A lifestyle business basically puts the owner first. So if you're running your company where the chief output is you and your benefit, right? So even if I'm like, oh, I do the best for my employees, I provide the best for them, but the output is really based on my ability to have what I want, to live the lifestyle that I want, I'm actually providing the services and the benefits to my employees because that makes me feel good. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's still very lifestyle. A growth-oriented business places the company first, right? So if you're an executive, there's a concept they call fiduciary responsibility. Fiduciary responsibility by law, you have to place the company's needs before your own.
Yeah.
Right. If you have a shareholder, a board, people invested in the company, their needs literally have to come first. A lot of people don't run the companies that way, unfortunately, but that's what you're supposed to do. So when we talk about growth-oriented and scale-oriented, we're talking about basically putting off our own satisfaction for the growth of the firm, right? Delayed gratification is kind of the key thought process around it. So my question to everybody here is, which is yours, right? Or anybody watching, or what type of business is yours? And there's not one or the other that's better, but knowing what it is you're doing, which one you want to do and how to do it will really increase your focus and your ability to get it done to support what your goals are. So many times people say, oh, I'm growth oriented, but they're not, right? They're growing the pocketbook, which is fine, right? But growth oriented is usually thinking about exit, sell, right? Or maybe you're just an adrenaline junkie and you love the business and you want to make it as big as you can. Whatever your reasons are, is fine. So if you can think about it for a second, what type of business do you run? Is it a lifestyle business or growth oriented? My companies are both lifestyle companies. I do them now because I want to. I've chased the growth for years. And now when I decided I was not going to do growth anymore, I opened up a nonprofit organization and a local community shop. And our goal is not to grow and scale, it's to provide good value in the community because I benefit from that. It's what I want to do. It's what I want to contribute. So the question of growth or lifestyle, and you could be asking yourself, can I be both growing and a lifestyle business? And I'm going to tell you fundamentally, this isn't the question, right? The question is, how do you manage and build your company? This is the question for today. Unfortunately, you can't be both. You can only be one. You just can't do both. You can try to transition between the two. It doesn't work. It's dishonest if you try to be both. And the idea behind having a decision about this is that we need, as entrepreneurs, as owners, we need to be able to focus on the outcomes that we want to deliver and that we want to create. So we have to basically understand what our intention is and what the desired outcomes we want to achieve are. And that will basically decide the type of business I will build. So we have our current state versus our desired future state, right? Because everybody sitting around here wants to be somewhere else. I want some type of company. I see this in my future. This is what I want to build. That's our desired future state. The entrepreneurial firm, typically if you're the owner, if you're the entrepreneur, you're basically the chef, the cook, and the bottle washer, right? You do everything within the company. The company's owner dependent, right? Like if you're not there, it doesn't function. If you're out on vacation, even though you got a good team, you still might get that phone call, right? It has limited defined processes. You are the process, or the people within the company might be the process. They're not fully defined. It's managed daily instead of over time. We deal with things on a day-to-day basis. It lacks the correct infrastructure. And we're going to talk quite a bit about this because a lot of times we have the infrastructure that we use today, not what we need in place to support for where we want to go tomorrow. We're typically limited in scale and we have a ceiling. We have these numbers we hit and we can't get past them. It's constant, right? You get burned out, whatever that ceiling is, right? It could be financial, it could be burnout, could be not the right people in the seats. There's always some type of ceiling that we hit. And that's mostly because we lack the correct infrastructure. And we're in basically a perpetual startup environment. An entrepreneurial ran firm is always recreating itself. It's always chasing this shiny object. It's always what's new. It's always over and over and over because there's no defined plan or path. The desired future state, right, if we're growth oriented, is what we call the professional firm. It's built on vision, right? It's professionally managed.
Yeah.
And this means that all of our roles, all of our positions are role-based. There's a reason why we hire people, not just to deal with the fire, not just because I want more time back, but there's a very specific reason. It's focused on outcomes. It's dependent on accountability, and this is kind of big star here on dependent on accountability. Am I accountable to my goals? That's the easiest one. Do I really go after them? Do I really do that? Because you're not going to grow or scale if you don't, right? And am I accountable to my employees? Do I give them the right resources? Do I give them the right support? Are they accountable to me? Am I accountable to my customers? Depending on accountability goes on and on and on. But if you think about any large company, they've mastered the accountability piece. Some of them get so big, the accountability piece gets shitty again, right? You call them up, you can't get hold of anybody because they've gotten so big, right? They've kind of lost their track. They have, professional firms have defined processes and standard operating procedures. And we all talk about standard operating procedures, but if you start tying them in with focus, accountability, the way it's managed, moving it towards the vision, they start to make it, they have a different reason to exist. And they're run strategically, right? Here's a concept that gets lost with entrepreneurs, this idea of strategy, what is it? So the professionally managed business has vision, and it's not a vision statement. It's not this concept of I write something down so I can regurgitate it because it feels good. It's actually a systemized method of defining your aspirations and goals. It's an annual process. It's a revisitation. It's defining where it is we're actually going in a way we can actually move there, not just a statement. There's strategy. And we're not talking about a business plan, right? We're talking about this concept of an actionable quarterly, 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year focus. Something that's actionable, right? It has the right systems that are defined and aligned with the desired business outcomes, right? So how many of us use marginal systems that we're like, I hate this thing. It doesn't do what I want it to do, but we just keep using it because it's easy, right? We do that a lot, right? That's preventing your growth and the scale. Processes, they're documented, they're repeatable, and lastly, they're focused on efficiency, right? So I don't just write a process, I iterate a process. It gets written, we practice it, we put it in place, we see what happens. And then I adapt it and I make it easier. I make it faster, I make it quicker. And lastly, accountability. This is how you get the right people in the right seats. You hear this all the time, the right people in the right seats. What does that mean? Somebody there doing the work and the output is what you want? Not really. Accountability goes all the way up this chart, right? They follow the process, they know the systems, they understand the strategy, right? And how we're going to get there, and they're aligned with vision. And we could do this just through how we hire. So the hard truth about professionalization. This isn't easy, right? There's a reason why we don't do it. There's a reason why we want to grow, but we stop. It's because it's not easy. It requires us to do all the work we never seem to have the time to do, right? We always have all this stuff that we know we need to get to, but we don't do it because the money is coming through the door and it's good enough, right? And when we start to do all the work we need to do, make the investments we need to do, bring the people we need to do, right? Our pocketbook starts to drain a little bit because we created a bunch of overhead. Right? We have to create the overhead to grow as part of it. A lot of times we don't want to make that expense. We don't want to take that expense. We don't want to take that burden. We know we should, but we don't. Oh, I'll just handle it. Or somebody else can handle it even though they're not qualified for it, right? It gets done, but it's not great. And then that leads to this constant entrepreneurial firefighting that we all have to do with most of the time. And then lastly, and most importantly, professionalization requires a continual reinvestment of both time and money. It's not just one time, it's forever, right? So if you want to grow and you want to scale, you will always have to invest your time and your money over and over and over and over forever. That's why a lot of people in real estate are basically asset rich, but bank account poor. Everything keeps going back into real estate, right? Everything keeps going back into the business. A lot of times as business owners, our asset, the most value is the company, right?
Right.
It has the money in it, right? It provides us bits of it, and we put some of it in our bank accounts. We buy some things, but most of the time, all the money is in the business because that's our livelihood. So today, this is where we kind of consolidate the 16-week course into 30 minutes, right? There's 5 keys to professionalization, all of which we can manage and all of which we have control. One is culture of our business. Even if you're a solopreneur, how you act and how you operate determines the benefit to everybody who's involved with you. This idea of accepting a concept that we call sustainable growth and implementing it. Putting infrastructure first. So once we decide the targets and the direction we want to go, we make the investments in the infrastructure. We implement something that I call, and I've developed, that I call dynamic strategy, and I'll share that with you. So it's a concept of how to make strategy effective and easy. And most importantly, we adopt an iterative mentality. Iterative, and I believe somebody was talking about it around me, I think it was you who said, I see myself, I run the course, I look at it, I critique it, and then I make it better, right? This has to be a constant. If we're not iterative on our processes, we're basically stalled out. So we're going to go through each one. So culture, to me, is the key and the driver of success in every firm, in every organization. And a company's culture is composed of 4 manageable traits, right? So when we talk about culture, can anybody here define what that is? Some people define it as it's what you tolerate, right? It's what you get out of your business because it's what you tolerate. And I'm here to tell you that that's only if you don't manage it. If you let it be, then everybody in your company will decide what it is. I worked for a company, the culture was horrible because they didn't manage it. And people were at each other. The company ran great. From the outside, it was beautiful, made a lot of money. But inside, it was horrible to work for, right? And that's because the people were allowed to just do whatever they wanted to do, and that became the culture.
Well, what do you mean by it was horrible, like specifically?
If we wanted to get some work done, it might, a simple project that would probably take you and I to cooperate and maybe get it done in a couple of days would be like 6 months. Just because of, it's not mine, it's yours, and who's responsible and where do I get the money? And I don't, I have a budget, but I'm not going to spend it on that. Where I'm like, well, I have a budget, but I will spend it on that because it's important, right? So it's just that. So it goes on and on.
Yeah.
So basically, the 4 manageable traits of culture is your vision, your values. Those things could be your core values that people talk about, but I'm actually talking about living values, right? And they could include things like communication, accountability, honesty, the practices you have in your company, right? The types, how you run your meetings, if you have breakfast, if you do benefits, if you say hi to people, their names, if you have family picnics, those type of practices, meetings, operating procedures, measurements, and the people. So vision, values, practices, and people, all things that we can manage, all things that are actually intertwined, right? We'll define your culture. And lastly, the people is just the right people in the right seats. So this concept of sustainable growth, right, is the second concept of professionalization. It's basically this ability that we can grow from our revenue, right, without stagnating the company, meaning we continuously make the right investments, and without creating a bunch of problems because we had a bunch of money, we want to do a bunch of stuff, and we just throw it all in there because we want to go in a direction, right? So sustainable growth is a measured process saying this is where we want to go. How do we get there? Make the right funding, do the right things, move the ball forward, right? If you can't move the ball forward, you pivot, so you move the ball forward. You don't just keep kind of with shotgun approach and see what sticks. Sustainable growth is not growth at any cost, which is what we're used to as entrepreneurs, right? I want to do this and I throw a bunch of money in it, see what happens. I'm going to buy this company because I think it's going to be a good add-on. Maybe there's a plan for it. Maybe there's not a plan for it. Growth at any cost is what entrepreneurs are taught, right? We go out, we raise a bunch of money. We take that money and then we just start trying to build a company. And then all of a sudden we got to go raise a bunch more money because we just spent millions and millions of dollars and have nothing, right? This is venture capital. This is this arena, growth at any cost. And it's not sporadic. So if we want to have growth in our company, it just has to be measured. It has to be sustainable. It has to be done with intention. We also need infrastructure first. So what does this mean? It means that we need to have some sort of organizational plan, right? So everybody here, I don't know if you've read E-Myth, right? It's a popular book, and it basically kind of talks. I mean, this goes on. I mean, this is old as business. Is how do you develop and how do you get the right people? And if I want to grow my company, not what do I need today, but what do I need to get where I want to be? And can I set up these roles in the organization and fill them as the opportunity shows up? A business operating model. How do we scale and keep our focus, culture, and values in place? So by an operating model, it's just a method of which I manage my company. I know I have a method, and it's something I can write down. This is what I do to manage the business. We need to have systems. What key systems are necessary to get us where we want to be? Not what we're using today, but where we want to be. The funding. How much money do we have access to, right? What are the sources, and are they actually available? Because if you're funding on credit, right, and you don't have a way to pay that credit unless there's success, that's not sustainable, right? That's a roll of the dice. That's very entrepreneurial. It works out a lot of times if you bust your ass to get it done, right? But we're not talking about doing this. We're talking about shifting to professionalization. Professionalization says, well, look, I've got $3,000 coming in next month, and I know this piece of software is going to cost me $2,000. I can afford it, and I can implement it. I'll do that, right? Or I'll wait 2 months to get the software in, right? When I can afford it, to put it into place and move it forward.
Based on certainty and everything?
Based on the idea that it's going to get you where you need to be within the context of what you're capable of doing. So for instance, if I go buy a camera, right, because I think I can use it for a photo shoot down the road, but I already have a camera that's going to work for that photo shoot down the road. So I'm still going to buy it anyways, right? Because I really just think it's kind of a cool camera, and I'd rather use that one. That it's not making that decision. It's the decision says that I'm going to do this photo shoot. I would like to do this camera. It's going to make it better for the client. Now, instead of $3,000, it's going to be $5,000. The fee really needs to be $5,000 because the client kind of needs to pay for this camera so I can do the photo shoot the way they want to do it. It's a thought. It's a thought mentality. Yeah. So it's not certain
more reasons to take actions. It's not like just taking them.
It's following through on the action, right? See, having the capability to follow through on the action.
On the other person.
We all have these tendencies. This is why we have to grow, right? These are things you learn. These are things that you will learn as you grow your company. You will learn this. Like whether or not I tell you about this, you will experience it. It's just the way it goes. And we need to have the proper controls within. This is why we buy infrastructure, so we can have some controls, right? How do we retain our focus? Now, controls could be a CPA, controls could be a role, but part of your infrastructure could be your roles, right? So it could be the software itself, it could be the reports, it could be whatever it is that you need to keep you on track, to make sure you're on track. And that goes into measurements, what determines success and what does success look like. So at any point in your business, if you want to set an objective, you should always ask the question of what does success look like? What is my output? What do I expect? There's something called OKRs, objectives and key results. It's an old process built back in the 90s that basically says, I'm going to set an objective, but I also have to put my key results down, because how do I know how to get to finishing my objective unless I know what the results are that I'm looking for? Right? So it's a pretty powerful concept of thinking about, okay, I want to do this, and this is what I expect when it happens. So you can tell whether or not it happens, or you can set measurements or a direction to make sure those individual pieces, the results, happen when the objective is completed. So we also need to deal with strategy, right? In a professionalized firm. And the concept of strategy a lot of times is this idea that we do a plan, right? And then we kind of go. And I'm here to tell you it doesn't work, right? A strategy isn't static. It's not. If I set a strategy, right, it's going to be me trying to do what I want and the whole world getting involved and me having to move around in order to figure it out and how to get to where I want to be. The strategy is constantly evolving. If you think of it from marketing perspective, or from like just you're in traffic, right? And Waze says, okay, you're going to get to Murrieta or Temecula today from Los Angeles, and here's the route. That's the strategy. Halfway through, recalculating, right? Now you start going down different roads. That's a good way to look at strategy. It's basically within a company, it's a fluid cycle. And what I mean by cycle is repetitive. It's a constant cycle of planning, setting a plan, managing the plan, right? And execution. So I have a plan. I do some things. That's the execution on it. I look back and I see whether or not it's going in the right direction, and I manage it, which may mean I have to replant or I have to do some other things, right? And I keep going down this path of planning, management, and execution. So this little bar down here, I don't know if you can see it very well, but it basically says task, plans, strategy, and vision. So this idea of vision, now I've spoken to a bunch of times. This is actually a direction of where we want to go. It's something physical that we want to achieve. Within the vision lies strategies that we set on how to get there, lies our plans that basically are going to allow us to follow our strategy, and goes down to the very basic concept of what we have to do on a day-to-day basis, the tasks that need to be achieved. So this is a holistic play, right? Every time I do a task, is it moving me towards my vision? If it's not, is it wasting my time? If the vision, right, is to be 2 times more profitable, right, in a year, is this task working towards the profitability? If it's not, do I even need to worry about it? How's it going to impact it, right? So we have to have plans and strategies and vision when we start to have employees, because everybody needs to know where they're going and how to get there. And then we assign tasks, right, for these people to complete to move us in this direction. So it goes both directions, right? So vision, strategy, plans, and tasks, but it's this holistic concept, and it's managed through plans, executive management, ownership management, and the actual doing.
Just a quick question before you go next. Like, I love this task, plan, strategies, vision. I'm doing, like, I'm measuring based on my business and what I'm doing. I found out that the psychology is first, like before this, right? Before the steps, because yeah, task, plan, strategy, vision, right? The vision, I have a vision, right? But I see like the mindset and the psychology, that how much I want my vision to be done. Then I start with the task, plans, strategy. So is this like apply here? What we like?
So let's just take, because if we start putting the personality and the traits in the business, then we start to develop our own personal operating models, right? So it really depends on how you look at it. What I'm trying to say is that there is an easy way to deal with it if you can get your emotion out of it, right?
Yeah.
And you say, this is where I want to go, my vision. If it doesn't actually result in goals, like if it's just a statement, it's not a good vision. It might be an idea you have that helps you get where you want to go, right? But it's not going to help anybody else get anywhere because you can't articulate exactly what does success look like. So you have to have it defined. This is the key that a lot of people miss out on. You have to have the defined so you can build traction to get towards it. And in order to do that, you have to have tasks. But your vision may be so big or years away, right? That you have to have a strategy, some methodology, right, to guide you where you want to go. Like, okay, I have to do A, B, and C first, but A, B, and C may have their own sets of tasks, their own sets of plans, right? And there may be subcategories under all of this, depending on the size of your company. The idea is to structure it in a way that it can get done and that it can get solved. And we'll get into that a little bit here in a second. And lastly, we need to have an iterative mentality, right? The biggest and best companies have been around for a long time and consistently readdress the changing markets. So every month, your market's actually changing. If you look at it, right? A lot of times we think we know, we're the expert, we're the industry expert. But if you actually get into it and really look at it, you can start to see it shifting. That's why a lot of us spend time hiring experts, right? I need an industry expert.
Yeah.
This is all they do. They make tons of money, right? I mean, some of you guys paying, like I hear Grant Cardone a lot, right? Yeah, this is what he does, right? He knows where everything's shifting, right? And he tells you guys it's shifting. He's got 100 people working on it, so he can tell you what he knows, right? And how to do it. So he's constantly readdressing the changing market. He's in such a good position that he has so much money, right? That as the market shifts, he can shift it. He can shift certain parts of the market because he can see where it's going. This is why he's big. Iterative also means that its results apply to a previous application. So it means that if we have a plan and we have a task, we have to do it. Then we have to stand back and look at it and see whether or not it was good. If it's good, cool. And it's repeatable, cool. We do it again, we document. If it sucked, we improve it. Right? Because if we don't, it just adds way more overhead. We have to hire more people to do, all these tasks. And lastly, we need to have a continuous improvement-based culture. So it's real simple. This is a simple component about iterative mentality. If you really just say, hey, our company is always going to be continuously improving, and I mean it, like we're going to do whatever we can do to always do better. And you just embed that in your vision statement or your vision or not your vision, but your core values. And you talk about this openly with everybody in your company. This sticks. And when they talk to you about it, you listen to what they say. Even if you disagree with them, you listen and you tell them you understand, thank you. And you think about it. And if you can incorporate it, the changes or your own changes, you do it. The problem is if this gets out of hand, right? You're doing things that aren't moving you forward. They're just moving things in circles, which I think we've all probably been victims of just doing like, why are we doing this, right? Especially if you've been in a big company, you look around like, why do we do this, right? Oh, it's because of the way we did it. That is lacking, right? So I've just given you guys a whole bunch of information. Some of you engaged, some of you not so much. You could be thinking this is great and all, but what can I do today? I don't really care about scale, right? I'm going to be small. Who has any time for this, right? We're already maxed out. I don't have time to do these things. This is way easier said than done. And my business will always be small, right? I kind of fit into these, right? I'm not scaling my companies. I don't really need to be focused on this type of stuff. I used to. This is all I did. But today I can say, why do I need this stuff? And I'm here to basically say that we all need it. We all need to become professionally managed. We all need to be striving for it. Because what it does is it creates that freedom we look for as an SMB owner, as a small business owner, right? A small, medium-sized business owner. We always talk about getting our time back, right? You have all these gurus tell you, be an owner, not an operator, right? Well, this is what being an owner is. It's setting the professionalization to such a way that you're not just wasting time anymore, right? And when you get too big, you don't have time to waste. And when you're small, you feel like you don't have time to waste. And it delivers repeatable results. That's where the money comes. When we have repeatable process that we can profit from, that's scale. We can cookie cutter approach, move that out, repeat it forever, as long as the market supports it. So the base foundation of professionalization is really simple, right? It can be so complex. There's a billion books written on all of this stuff, right? It can be very, very complex, but it's really just this idea that if I manage a vision for my company, I have a strategy on how to get to my vision, right? I have the right systems to get me where I want to go. I have the right processes in place, right? And I have accountability with my team members, with myself. I have all the right ingredients because all of these, it's the accountability that drives the process, right? That utilizes the system, that executes on the strategy that delivers the vision. It really is. These are all connected, all manageable. I showed you just a few bullet points for each one of these that you can address. And the idea is to use them to pursue growth, right? Even if you're not trying to be this gigantic scale-oriented business, use them to get your time back, to be more of an owner, right? Than the guy in the trench putting out all the fires. Stop putting out the fires by having a clear path, right? By having everybody on the same page, by moving in the right direction. I don't know how many cliches we can throw out there. Does anybody else have what they want to add? Right? We can just keep adding and adding. Everything, Tony Robbins is saying this stuff nowadays. I heard him the other day. He said, don't be the owner, don't be an operator, be an owner. That's been said for 40 years. Yeah. And now Tony, this is his new mantra, right?
And work on the business, not
in the business. Impossible. You always have to work in the business, but this is how you work on it. You develop this, even if it's just a set of bullet points. And lastly, this is the biggest one. You use this to increase the value of your company. So you want to exit, you want to sell your business, right? And I have no idea where I'm at on time. So you want to sell your business. Everybody who wants to buy it is going to pay you an extra multiple of way higher value if you have this stuff in place and the right people executing. If you don't have this in place, whatever your asking prices are going to come in and lowball you because you don't have these things in place. This is their opportunity to make the company better. Every private equity firm, any entrepreneurial through acquisition person, anybody out there looking to buy a company is looking for you to have holes in this so they can get a discount on the value of your company. Yep. Right. So this is the secret, right? To basically building real wealth if you're looking to exit your company. The difference of factor could be between like 2 to 10 times by having all this stuff in play. Even if you have like $100,000 company, if you have these things in play and I can buy it and take it over, and then all I have to do is put some money into it to scale this, right? That company's worth a lot to me. If I have to build all this stuff, it's not worth it.
And it can be applied to any type of business and any size of business, right?
Yeah. And that's the funny thing about this is that no matter how you look at it, and I'm happy to hear if anybody else has anything to add. I haven't been able, I reduced everything I could out of the complexities of growth and scale. And it basically looks like this. You need a structured operating model. How am I going to run my company? Right? A clear defined vision and a way to measure traction. A defined organizational structure based on roles, responsibilities, and accountability. This is the key. If I hire because I have a job description, and then I come back, I'm like, why don't you do these things? Sure. Right? I'm constantly trying to manage this person. I got to hire managers. I got to do this, right? I have all these tiers of my company of people managing people. I've created a problem because I don't have accountability. If I hire because the job description is really a role, you're going to come into this company and this is what I have to have you do. You are accountable for these 6 functions. Your job description's got 30 things in it, but these 6 functions are what I'm going to measure you on as an individual and as an employee, right? Regardless of everything else, this is what you're agreeing to when you sign off. right? Do you agree? I agree. Okay, cool. Well, this is what you're gonna be measured on, this is your performance. Great, you're gonna come in, now they're accountable to you. They're accountable to the process, they're accountable to the role. They're just not like, oh, it's not my job, right? Because they have accountability. They've accepted that accountability. It's so simple, but overlooked because we don't do it this way. We don't manage this way. We don't manage on accountability. Even with our kids and our family, we don't really deal with accountability at all. But in a business role, in a business perspective, if you manage by accountability, you are literally setting up the firm where everybody will participate instead of just being an employee. It's just a change of thoughts, a change of management. It's the way we approach it. And lastly, or not, yeah, that's 5, so I only have 4. So we need to have a consistent, open, and honest communication structure that's focused on problem solving, right? So every time we have a discussion as a team, we're solving a problem. We're just not reporting on how great I am or the great things we did. We're focusing on how we solve a problem because as a business owner, it's our primary responsibility. That's all we do. We solve problems. We solve problems for the customer. That's why they buy whatever we're selling or servicing. We solve problems within our organization to keep it rolling right with the banks, with the taxes. That's all we do as business owners, solve problems. And the easiest way to be open, honest communication, focus on problem solving is to have plans, to have meetings, to listen to feedback, and to make sure that everything's focused on decision making. And again, it's very simple. How do I run my meetings? And lastly, define a repeatable core business processes. Not all the business processes need to be defined, just the core ones, the ones that make us money, the ones that are important. If I need customer satisfaction score of a certain amount, how do I get it? This is my defined process. And I make sure everybody's doing it. It becomes part of the culture, right? I don't define all these processes because now nobody knows what to do because it's all written down in a book to do my job, right? Just a core. So like the 80-20 rule, 20% of the work, right, deals with 80% of the results. So you work from that mentality. So thank you. My contact information, that's a little QR code if you want to scan it. It just shows you my bio. And then some books, if you want to read, that have some that are new prints that have this information in them, all kind of that's good. Guru kind of related. You have Get a Grip and Traction, which is the entrepreneurial operating system, which is a big thing today. Growing Pains, which is basically a book that talks about how to scale from entrepreneur to like 3 billion in revenue. It's kind of hard to digest that one, but it's a good book to own. E-Myth is the one we talked about. It basically says, be an owner, not an operator. It's kind of the first introduction to that. And there you go. That's me.
Instead of the mastermind, let's not keep it on the table so we can press feedback. So let's talk about the 5 points around the mastermind table that are good. So let me go up there real quick. All right, guys, round of applause here for Mitch. Yes, go right there. The rest is right there. And then the passport is a great one right there. You'll see it. All right, guys. So the best thing about Mitch is that he's accessible to all of you guys, even if you're a member or a non-member, and it goes to show a lot of the value that he provides. So let's go to the slide of the third to last slide. This one right here. So since that one.
Was it that one?
Yeah, that one. That one.
Next, like, which?
No, it's a summary.
The summary.
The summary ones.
Not backwards, forward.
Yeah, it's all the way. It's starting over.
Right. Okay, leave it.
Got it. Go.
It's at the end, right? The summary?
Okay, guys. So for the map.
It's not it. It's near the end.
Yeah.
It's this one. It's the
All
summary.
right, guys. So for today's mastermind, instead of going with the same old questions that we do, and it's not a bad thing, I like to maximize it. Let's go around the table today and talk about which one do you need to work on, because let's all be real. We could all improve specifically in all of these. And we have Mitch right here, the expert. And aside from all of us who's an expert specific, we can give each other feedback. So we have a timer here. We're going to put 30 minutes on it, guys. So just be mindful. And it's okay if we make it about one person, but let's all go around the table. So we'll start off with Nick on this side, because Nick is always going last. So let's go, Nick. Which one do you want to improve on for either of your businesses, which is Alliance and also the IE Mastermind group? Which one do you think?
So what's the question? Sorry.
Which one do you want to work on moving forward?
Which one do I want to work on?
Which one does it stand out for you
In your business.
in your business? Whichever one you want to choose.
Probably defined and repeatable core business process.
Okay. What about it though? What do you need to improve on? What specifically?
Just for the mastermind, just making it, repeatable and having that system in place. And that's why we're working with Mitch.
What about you, Anthony? Go ahead. We'll start going around the table.
Sure. Yeah. So this is very helpful to me right now because the company that I'm with, the owner is someone I've known since like high school, but he's scaling pretty big right now. We're building on a pretty large second half to our office that we're using now, upstairs, downstairs. We're probably like about 85% done with it, just waiting for the pile of, tables and everything to come in. And I'm helping him recruit, do just light recruiting, also. So I'm thinking, once the people get recruited in their commercial real estate company, what's going to kind of be the operating model. And I'm sure I just haven't talked to him about it yet. I haven't got into that, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be a part of that, bringing people in and helping develop kind of like the culture there in the company. Yeah, I think the first one definitely was, yeah.
What about you, Rami?
Me at this stage in my business, the last one, defined and repeatable core business processes. Especially my kind of business is online. I'm sure you've been through course creation and selling, and you work a lot in this, right? So me doing this, I started my business last year, but I worked more on done for you service, and this is where I made a lot of money, right? By helping people. But now I'm trying to do a different thing by having the academy and the courses. So I have success, but I need to keep repeating this and to grow and I learned this to have like constant and never ending improvement in everything I'm doing. So the last one is for me at this stage.
So like, if we talk about that just for a second,
Yes.
It's not like just one big set of process, right? So you have for like marketing, for instance, everybody talks about creating a lead tunnel, right? So if you want to create a lead tunnel, you have to kind of take a whole bunch of shots at the market to see what people react to, right? So it's got to be iterative. And then once it's iterative, you got to see what converts, right? And once you can get them to convert, now you have a process which is repeatable.
That's good. That's good.
That's why you said about dynamic strategies and not static. 100%.
And it's also sustainable because you're going to try a few different things. You're going to narrow it down, and that it's got to be a repeatable process, and it may take some time to solve because you got to wait for the market's feedback. You just can't throw a whole bunch of money at it and see if it works. Because from a marketing perspective, I think we've all thrown a bunch of money at it and just seen it go nowhere, right? Especially if you've ever advertised like on Google and stuff, right? It just kind of goes nowhere. So that repeatable refinement, and that's just marketing. And you can look at that from how you deliver the product and how you create the product.
One of the examples I can give you for the process is the script, how I connect with my prospect. I paid $5,000 just to learn the script because my script was more into friend zoning, right? And this doesn't work. You need to be, for my business, you need to tell them you're here to take a course or done for you service. Which one? I don't want more friends just to waste time, right? Yes. So this part of the process, now I have a script. Every new connection, I go to the script, copy, paste, and follow the script. Now I know it more by heart.
How long did you find yourself in that hole of like, man, you just keep on getting people that want to be friends or instead of the other?
Actually, I have a coach. She told me to do that. She's a number one. She hit a number 3 in the world for making $1 million in a very short period of time. Her name is Wiwi. She told me that friend zoning is not good in the online business. You need to stop doing that. And that was my weakness. And she told me you need this script, and this script when she used the script, she make better results. So use the script, you get better results. And I start using this process.
For how many months were you in the friend zoning section?
Oh, for
3
a month,
years or
yeah,
months?
this is how I operate. From
That's where I was at.
Yeah.
That's where I was at. Send me that script.
Yeah, so
Oh, you didn't know? Oh, that's the scarcity mindset over here. We share. The mastermind, that's what you get with the mastermind.
so just let's talk about this just for a second. So see, you solve a problem and it's working for you. But here's where this idea of scale and growth comes in, because now you can repeat yourself 6 different times, 100 times with the script with different people who are just doing the script component or the closing component. You can now kind of isolate that process and have anybody run it.
And my employees, yeah, this is now I'm hiring a virtual assistant with the script. She doesn't have to come from to think about how she's gonna talk to my prospect.
And this is, yeah, so that's kind of, so when you look at big companies, right? I would say $100 million plus. And those can still be considered small, but you have to start having the repeatable methodology. Because if you don't get repeatable results. You get just scattershot, and you don't get that big unless you are delivering the same sort of core value to those people. Now that may change every year a little bit. The script may change because the environment's changing, but the core functionality usually stays. And sometimes for a lot of big companies, it stays too long, right? It's been around forever, and now it's just the returns aren't that great, but they're still running, right? And then that's where we get into reorganizations and stuff, because even though all this stuff gets you on the right path, it can also cause you a great amount of headache if you don't do it from a sustainable perspective. If you're not reviewing it and analyzing it and cutting and trimming as you go along, right, then you just become usually too overburdened.
Thank you. I just want to share one more thing that it made a big change also. When I attended Wealth Mastery, and I learned big thing that doing business, it's not about me. It's about people and how I serve them. And I go to with this mentality every day to the business. So even with the chat, I'm chatting with someone, and okay, I have a script, but I'm always thinking that it's not about me, it's about them and how I can serve them. So this is a big change for me, because before, no, I need to make business to get money. No, money is the result of what I bring to the table and what I share and serve. So
that goes back to putting the company first.
Yeah.
Right. Delayed gratification. You're gonna give them what they want because you know later you're gonna get what you want.
10 times.
Budgets. Cool. So for me, one of the next requirements that I saw right now is to really define the vision and way to measure traction.
That's good.
Yeah, for me, entrepreneuring is really good. I've been through that road. It's very successful right here. I want to scale it up. And to measure that, pretty much I figured out that it's as something which is above others too. And I figured out that the system that I can adopt and create to help others move forward, it's like that kind of traction that would help scale it from entrepreneurship to the professional side of it. And as you all know, you guys all deal with networking, and it's really a complex industry. My level is mostly on trading level, help people how to understand that on the basic levels and grow it up to be, financially independent and, doing on your own without having to worry about 9-to-5 jobs and stuff like that. So that vision is what I've been painting in my brain lately, and I'm working on it thoroughly, to execute it and put it into work.
So I don't fully agree with it, but the book that I put up there called Traction, EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System, they've refined a few different systems into a coaching method, and I don't quite agree with it, but it has something they call Vision Traction Organizer. It's just a document. You could Google it and just find the document.
Vision Traction
Organizer. And the VTO is basically a method. It's a 2-page document that when you complete it, it is actually the vision. It goes through things like, where do I see myself? Where do I see the company in 10 years? What are my core values, right? My 3 to 5 core values. What's my unique niche, my market, right? What are my 3 key differentiators? what's my unique guarantee, right? What do I guarantee to people to buy from me? And then it kind of works itself out to, okay, year one, these are the things I need to do in order to move towards this. And then it says focus on 90-day increments to basically make sure you're moving the ball forward. And then if you find metrics to kind of track the progress that are in alignment with your vision, you can make sure it's moving forward. And as you assign accountability and you see what people are doing in your company or processes you're working, if the metrics aren't moving in the right direction, you know you have to change. You have to look right there and you have to figure that out.
I just actually had something like that in both building and fire zone.
Okay. Yeah,
It's pretty much done.
Yeah. It's been done 100 times, but traction is actually, it's very simple. It's like a $12 book, I think. Yeah.
So in my new business that I just started, it's kind of funny because that's what we did, right? That's how we got our vision, works backwards for like what it looks like.
Start with
So that I've never read something like that. So it's kind of interesting that it's been said a couple different ways.
Oh yeah.
So before we even opened our doors or got the licensing, I had all this in place. So I'd like to see, like, because most of the time I feel as entrepreneurs, we're like, we have an idea and then we do it. And then we're like, wait, let's look at what our structure is. It's clearly defined, right? So I have a brand new business that I did all this stuff with first. So we'll see how it works. With my other business, I bought a bar, and I'm definitely, I don't drink either, but it's fun to watch people. Yeah. Yeah, but we switched the bar from a 21 and up to a family friendly, so we're like going through identity of being a family friendly establishment that serves alcohol as well, because it was a dive bar for a lot of years. So I'm probably stuck on all of this because it was already in place, but I definitely think I need to work on consistent open and honest communication with the business owners with a bar, because, and it's funny that somebody said that that's what Tony Robbins was talking about, because my CPA said, Rebecca, your business partners are working in the business and you're working on the business, and you have to figure out how to meet in the middle, because I don't have a passion for running a bar. I network, so that's where my entertainment comes from as far as being in a bar. So
I'll tell you this though, and you might not like it, but you have to go in there. You have to. There's no way to disconnect yourself to get the result you want. It just won't happen. Yeah. And I just, that's through years of trying to not be involved and having to get in.
I don't have a problem, but I'm just saying at this point that it's like they're working in the business, so they have passion, and it's like I need to work on the business and I need to have open, honest communication with their planning meetings, feedbacks, and I keep asking, like, let's get on a Zoom, and everyone's like too busy. That's what I'm
just to clarify, Tony Robbins said work on the business and gave an example. If you work 5 days in the business, have 1 day to work on the business so you can get the big figure, right? Like from outside. Not to be away from the business, like not to go there, right? Work on the business. So you need, as Mitch was saying, you need to be there to see what's going on at least 2 times a week, right? And be involved from the ice, where the ice comes from is where they put it to the what they call blue label. That's where they go. So
yeah. Well, now that it's family friendly, it'd be a little bit easier. It's kind of hard not to my kids.
Yeah. If I can give you an example, like I ran a large technology department that spanned 6 countries, and the first year I was just trying to get my traction in the company because it was so big, and I didn't get out to the locations, right? But I had everybody reporting all these meetings, all this stuff, all this great stuff, and then the next year I traveled to each location, and what a mess everything was, Yeah. It was such a mess. And I was in my 20s and I was just kind of learning this stuff. And that's when I basically realized, like, you got to roll up your sleeves and you got to get into it. Even the best CEOs, Elon Musk, these guys, they get in, they go on the floor, they go see what's going on. And if you try to avoid that, you end up getting a mess. At some point, it will be a mess. Yeah. And then at that point, you could just be a shareholder, right? I'm just gonna own the shares and send me my dividend. I'm not dealing, there's somebody else.
I was gonna suggest even schedule 1 day a week, say every Friday morning, I wanna review the numbers from the last week.
That's a great way to do it.
Or once a month, every whatever day of the month, the last Thursday of every month, we're gonna have a 90-minute meeting and these are the things we're gonna go over. And
It's a
I
great
want to see in and out and financials and let's discuss all the employees and have like a review cycle at least once a month.
Yeah, that's a great.
Yeah, I used to own one of the small businesses, smoking vape shops, and I used to do that constantly twice every month. Because I only have 3 employees.
Yeah, no, but it's a good way to do it. Yeah, that's good.
But an excellent presentation, a lot of good things to think about too, things that I haven't, like I know in my head, but I actually thought of it.
Yeah, that's a key reaction I get. Because I think we all know these things, but we just don't visit them enough. Yeah.
Try. Well, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, for some of our businesses, it's a lot, some I work for. Probably responsibility, accountability, and I think communication probably is woven in there as far as accountability goes. I think there might be some issues with accountability and communication. So yeah, probably work on that.
And for me, it's use the word, forgive me if I don't say it right, iterative.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so I'm always hounding, let's refine our process, let's make it better, let's find new technology, let's try to get better and use AI as much as possible. So he's like my master AI guy now. But yeah, so that's what I'm constantly working.
It's good. To me, that's the fun stuff.
So for me, it's probably the organizational structure, roles, responsibilities, and accountability. More the roles, responsibilities, and accountability. I have some structure in place, but responsibilities and accountability is what I've been working on.
How old your company?
10 years.
Usually when companies have been around for a while, that becomes a serious kind of thing. When I help a lot of businesses kind of try to get past a hurdle, right, we're stuck, or it's usually almost always personnel people and how that's all structured.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah, so I mean, it's you're normal.
Yeah.
It's funny because he said that and I was like, well, he's reading my mind. I actually called one of my mentors / coaches this week, was on the phone with him and he called into another person. We ended up on this big group call because I was like, I really need to work on that accountability piece. Yes, it's the roles and responsibilities, but the accountability is a really big one. Because as we grow, positions split, right? Yeah. And so now someone's picking up someone else's and it just, you know what I'm saying? So everybody's stepping on each other's toes a little bit when that happens. And then it's who's accountable to what. I've seen a little bit of finger pointing or just, oh, well, it didn't happen because it's not who's even supposed to do it, you know? So holding them. And then of course, I blame myself because I'm like, hey, I didn't put it in writing. I didn't put it to anybody. I never really told anyone. So I take accountability for that. Then I need to pass that on and ask who is accountable and go from there.
So Nick, a minute? I don't know where
We got time.
So I'll just share it with everybody. So they basically, and I'm happy to help anybody who just want to have coffee or something. Basically, accountability is super simple to deal with, but it's complex because we're not used to dealing with it. So when you write a job description, you need to think of it in the context of where it is in reporting and like an organizational chart. And then if you can think like each job description is accountable for certain kind of actions.
Right.
And if you can just write down the 5 to 7 things that they're accountable for in their job description role, so it's an org chart, you just say, these are the things that they have to do, right? No matter what, like this is the most important, this is what they're accountable for. And you do it for yourselves too, like husband, wife, owners, right? You guys both need to understand what you're accountable because that crosses a lot of lines too.
He handles the field, I handle the office.
Right.
That's easy. He does whatever's out there. I handle whatever.
Just like you're going to do for the employees, you write it for your business partners, right? Everybody has something that they're accountable for. And the trick is that for the executives and the managers, you do not want people to have the same accountability. You don't want them in each other's zone because that creates bureaucracies and problems.
Right.
So by listing what they're accountable for and sharing that with them and having them sign off on a new job description with an accountability role, it clears up everybody's lanes. And when you talk to them now, it's about function and about what they do, not what they should be doing or how they should be behaving or these other things. You just talk about the accountability.
Again, like you mean, instead of mothering them, make them report to you what's going on, right? Instead
Well,
of babysit them and
So the only reason you and I are going to meet is to solve a problem anyways, right? Because you're accountable for your job. And if you're not doing it, I'm going to tell you you're not doing it. If you're doing it well, I'm going to tell you, good job, you're doing it well, right? There's only two things we're kind of going to talk about from the accountability perspective. And between that, it's just going to be fixing the problem, right? So it clears up so much of the murky muddiness that exists with job descriptions and roles because we let the people in. And when the people come in, then we have compassion and we know we should get rid of this person, but we'll keep them forever because whatever, they got kids or I love them or I hate them or they need to be in the company. It gets rid of all of that because now they know, like, you're a good person, but this is what you have to do. And this is all I'm going to judge you on, right?
the emotions
Yeah.
away from this.
And it's fair. It's fair because I know now what I'm being judged on instead of, well, I got away with this in the past. So it's simple, right? Because it's literally just structuring it out. It's difficult because it requires a kind of a strategy, right? And a plan.
Yeah.
And then you have to take the task, right? The action. So you have a vision. This is how I want my staff to run. And then the right strategy, the plan, the task. It all plays in.
What do you think about the idea in the reporting process? So it didn't probably mean it that way, but I thought of it that way. People being accountable to reporting, and sometimes that can feel like, oh no, I got to go to the boss and report to that person, and they're going to scrutinize everything I do. When I think that I like the idea of like, because he's actually under him, and so they meet once a week, and then so he can bring all the things he's in charge of and responsible of. If he has a problem, he presents it. And it's not like he's trying to judge him on it per se. He's more like, okay, well, how can I help you to do your thing better? Because I want him to have the vision and passion to master what he's doing and like what he's doing. And then he's constantly pursuing him as a coach and guide rather than a report boss scenario.
I mean, that's how you want to run it. But it's just, you just have to understand that there's overhead in that. The overhead is whether or not they agree and all the things that could be in the gray.
Yeah.
So the idea is if we get rid of the gray,
Yeah.
right, then we can effectively manage for scale.
Yeah.
If we want to operate in the gray, then it's still very entrepreneurial, which is fine, right? You can do it either way you want. It's just how you want to do it.
Yeah.
So if you want to drive focused results, like I have a goal and we need to achieve this, right? Then you kind of have to get rid of the gray, right?
Yeah,
like, but if you have like an idea and you're just willing to throw resources at it to see what happens, because that's also a legit way to pursue business, right? Then you can't really have such a structure. It has to be entrepreneurial. So this is the difference between entrepreneurial kind of run and professionally run, is that one is like, we're only here to do X, Y, and Z. So let's do X, Y, and Z. The other is like, well, there might be some other stuff we want to do and we need to be creative in doing it.
Yeah.
So I've worked in firms that have departments that are allowed to operate in that entrepreneurial mentality and others that are real structured.
Yeah. Yeah.
But culturally, it creates problems because here these people get to do whatever they want, and I'm stuck behind, the task. But then we didn't talk about incentives and all this other type of stuff that goes into this too. But yeah. So it's just the way you look at it. It's not right or wrong. It's just the results you want and how to get them.
For me, within the mastermind and then for the business of the Infinite Growth Expo, it's a defined organizational structure based on roles, responsibilities, and accountability. Now that the IE Mastermind is growing at a pace, like, hey, it's a two-man team. Of course, we got business partners, but it's like now we need to bring in people to help us and delegate the things that don't generate as much money compared to like the things that we are good at, like naturally make us very good at being on the field, networking, etc. So I would like to get structured, but also get in a position where we can start bringing on like specific roles, The cool thing is that we have people volunteering to want to help. So shout out to Rami, because our strengths are like our weakness
is definitely social media, the aesthetic part of it. So ever since like we brought you on, like the aesthetic of visual of the website, and then just having like, hey, click here to RSVP, it's a reflection of the value that is provided. So it does it justice. Rather than to before, it could have just been a camouflage that we spent 2 hours on, and it looks like two people that didn't know how to do it. So we definitely need stuff like that. So that's if you have any wisdom.
Well, no, the basis is basically build the organization the way you want to see it in the future, like the roles you want, and you just kind of leave them empty boxes.
I like that. Yeah.
And as you, but you know, the empty box is what they're going to do and what you need to fill that box, right? So if it's going to cost me $50,000 a year to hire this person, but I don't have it, right? So you know you need to generate it, and then once you get to a certain threshold where you just can't do the work anymore, that's when you make the infrastructure investment, so you can scale it to the next phase by having that person pick up that load.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to do like that's kind of the organizational model plan, is where we want to go and what does it look like from a structure.
Cool. So round of applause for Mr. Mitch. That's literally one of his process when you sit with him, it's called simple, right? So how many of you guys agree that it's simple, but you got to do it?
It's simple, but it takes work.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Most of business we overcomplicate, in my opinion. We overcomplicate the heck out of it.
The car. How we can deliver the
We make that box a little bit harder.
Because we have people in motion.
Yeah.
Once you get all those people in there, then it becomes.
But I mean, any consultant, any coach, anybody in this life that you hire to help you fix a business problem is going to look at reducing the burden of the problem. Right.
That was good, man. Good stuff today. Amazing.
So that's the power of the mastermind, being able to share ideas and stuff like that. So after every special guest speaker, we usually have the mastermind where we answer different questions. But since you provided such a great structure, you know, it was good to kind of open that up. So thank you very much, Mitch. Appreciate that.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for participating.
Thank you. So I just want to kind of go over some big announcements, some things that are upcoming. Temecula is up and running. We got a whole great lineup of great speakers, and not only speakers, people to really give you insight about different angles of your business. So next week in Rancho Cucamonga, we have an amazing speaker, Mike Hardy. Mike Hardy has built a huge company. He manages over $500 million of capital investments for its, I forgot the name of his company, but he's an Ironman. He's a pilot. He's been on talk shows with USA Today in front of 200,000 people. He's going to be talking about how to create that work-life balance and how to hit, it's called how to hit the core four before you hit the door and really have that power for the day. So you don't want to miss him. He's actually a great friend of mine. We've done a lot of good hikes together, but he's a great guy. And man, just to have him in the room is going to be super powerful. And then next month in here, right, in Temecula, we have Ryan Rock. Ryan Rock is an expert in funding sources, exit strategies, how to wrap your mind about structuring the business, just kind of like how Mitch said, you have to have all these things in place. Otherwise, you're not going to get the multiplier for your business when you exit. He talks about how to really structure your business monetarily in order to get the most money out of your business. And he's an expert in SBA funding. Great ideas. He's going to be here next month. And then the following month, we have Dr. Jason Chiriano. Dr. Jason Chiriano was actually the president of the Southern California Surgeon Society. He was the top of the top when it comes to surgery. He still is, but he, rather than just always dealing with the amputating people's legs off and stuff like that because of health, he didn't want to do that. So he changed his whole practice around to have your body heal itself. And he's going to be here talking about energy and getting the most out of your body. Of course, the big thing that all started from the mastermind group, myself, Jesse, and then another mastermind group member, we're all like, we want to put on this event to inspire people and stuff like that. So last year we started the first Infinite Growth Expo. We had 260 people there. We had amazing speakers. A lot of lives changed from that because a lot of the members here are doing some big things all started from there. This year on August 10th, it's all about not only getting inspired, but at the end of the day, it's all about the money that you're able to generate from that event. People don't spend half a day or a day at an event unless you know you're going to generate more revenue, more leads, your life's going to change, or you make these connections that are lifelong partnerships or collaborations to elevate your business to the next level. So the Infinite Growth Expo, that's what it's going to be all about. We have Tim Story as our headliner and David Meltzer. Tim's Story is a coach to the celebrities, really to inspire you. But at the end of the day, a lot of the speakers there, including Alan Diaz. I don't know if you know Alan Diaz, but this young gentleman, he runs 12 different businesses. Brilliant when it comes to how to grow money tax-free, build your wealth. He helps people structure businesses from the ground up. I don't want to give you too much because you probably can explain it better than me, but he runs a school to teach people who are just in the tradesmen to help them become general contractors from A to Z. He has 8 schools or 9 schools or 10 schools throughout Southern California. And he really knows structure, but he's going to be speaking on stage. When I met this gentleman, I just wanted to pick his brain so much, and thank goodness we were able to work together. And so there's going to be great value from that. So if you don't have your ticket yet, it's going to be well worth your time. And then at the end of the month, it's on here. We're going to have a VIP networking sunset cruise in Newport Beach Harbor. So there's going to be some high-level networking there, and it's going to be a great time. So, and then at the end of the day, it's all about the network, who you network with, and who you keep surrounding yourself with and work with. That's how you keep growing and elevate yourself. So for those of you who have not, you're not a member yet, we are more than happy to answer questions. There are a couple levels that we're working on. We have the local chapter that's $1,297 for the entire year to be involved in all the different things, or we have the global where you can go to all the different events, as well as we have an app that it should be coming out any day now, and that's pretty much it. Anything you want to add, Jesse?
No, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for everybody that continually make the drive over here. For those people that just want to upgrade to the global one, talk to us. We could figure out some sort of structure with that too. And if you would like to be a speaker, talk to us too, because the people that get paid the most sometimes are oftentimes in stages, right? So you got to get quote unquote uncomfortable and start being yourself on stage. So make sure you guys get each other's numbers.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Let's take a picture with us.
Yeah.
Hey, quick selfie with
We're gonna do a picture real quick. 2 pictures actually.
Took a few pictures too with the camera.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. Hey, from now on, just bring that.
I was going to invite him. It's a big event. All of a sudden he goes,
You know what Denise does, Nick? She just clicks record, and then eventually she just screenshots it after.
That's a good idea.
That is a good idea. We just, hey, everybody pause, hold it.
That's good. I like that idea.
Yeah, click record. Shout out to Denise. Yeah, right.
Here, boom, there we go.
All right, everybody. Yeah.
On 3,
1,
everybody.
2, 3, smile.
Cheese.